Oh, sweetie, this event is for building connections and networking with important people. You would be out of the place there, standing out too much, don't you think? Besides, nobody would want to talk to someone unimportant anyway. Time is money, and these people can't waste a breath on people like you.
His words cut deep, and I could feel my confidence waning. I told Caleb about this.
My father's only looking out for you. I mean, let's be realistic, Sophie. You don't speak as eloquently as those people, and you wouldn't understand half of their vocabulary or the business jargon they would be using. And what would you even wear? You don't even know the proper etiquette in behaving in those types of events. Do you know how to hold a wine glass properly? We don't have enough time to get you to look as pretty as those high society ladies.
Hey there, I'm Sophie, a 35-year-old woman, and let me tell you about the time my father became the raging storm to my father in law's seemingly calm sea of life. It was the first time I was going to meet my father in law Richard in person. Caleb, my fiancé, had invited me to a family gathering at their lavish estate. As I stood in front of the grand entrance, my heart pounded with nervousness as I feel like a fish out of water, mainly because they made me believe that I didn't belong there, as they weren't really warm with their welcome. Caleb tried to reassure me, but he did so poorly since his words were laced with condescension.
Don't worry, Sophie. I know this might be overwhelming for you, but I got you back. You're lucky to have me as your fiancé, you know. I'm here to take care of you and show you a life beyond poverty.
I forced a smile, not wanting to seem ungrateful, but deep down his words made me even more uneasy. I remember before leaving for the gathering, I sought comfort from my father Joe, sharing my concern with him. Dad, I'm so nervous about meeting Richard. What if I say or do something wrong? What if he doesn't like me? What if I don't fit in? I should call Caleb and say I won't be able to come.
Sophie, remember, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. I've always told you this ever since you were little, haven't I? Life is all about facing challenges and learning from them. You have overcome so much already, and this is just another step in your journey.
It's that words of wisdom again that had been a constant companion throughout my life. No matter how frequently he says that quote to me, I could never get tired of it. It never failed to encourage me when facing uncertainties in life. From the time I participated in my first sports tournament, to nerve-wracking quiz bees, to my first bully, and even to my first heartbreak, my father has always been my biggest supporter. As I stepped inside the grand estate, surrounded by extravagance, I held onto my father's words like a lifeline, and as the night unfolded, the air in that opulent living room felt stifling. I sat quietly on the plush couch, trying to remain composed amidst the subtle yet demanding remarks that Richard directed my way.
So, Sophie, how are you finding our lifestyle? It must be quite the adjustment coming from your, simple background.
I could already feel my cheeks flush with embarrassment. It hurt, but I didn't want to make a scene. I had always known that my father in law disapproved of my humble beginnings, but being reminded of it constantly, I never had a single second where my father in law didn't make me feel so small and unworthy. I managed just fine. I've always believed that wealth is not the measure of one's character or happiness.
Oh, you have a lot to learn, woman, but fret not. Once you marry Caleb, you'll have access to all the luxuries you've never dreamed of. Yeah, Dad, I'm helping Sophie see the world beyond her small town. It's like my good deed for the day.
I forced a smile, feeling like he saw me as some charity case he needed to rescue. Just when I thought the awkward evening was reaching its end, Richard's face suddenly lit up with excitement.
Oh, I almost forgot to tell you both. I've been invited to speak at this prestigious conference next week. It's a big deal for my company, you know. This could turn us into titans of the industry.
He suddenly shared the news of an upcoming investment opportunity that had the potential to skyrocket his already substantial fortune. The possibilities seemed endless, and he is probably already envisioning a life filled with even greater luxury and prestige.
Whoa, Dad, that's amazing. You'll be great up there, I'm sure.
Caleb's eyes lit up. I know his mind is already raced with images of glamorous vacations in exotic locations, exclusive memberships to elite clubs, and him reveling in the envy of his peers with his overwhelming social status. I fear that this could make them lose any consideration they have left for the feelings and experiences of those less fortunate if they had any in the first place.
Oh, I don't need to worry about the speech. I have my little writer here. Sophie's going to take care of that for me, aren't you, dear?
I was taken aback. I thought he would write it on his own, or at least hire prose, but he picked me. Maybe he just wanted to keep his ghostwriting stuff private? Richard was putting me on the spot, making it seem like I was some sort of hired help rather than his son's partner. I forced a smile again and nodded, not wanting to cause a scene in front of Caleb. I can't help but wonder as well if that's the reason they invited me to this gathering.
After all, it's the least you can do for leeching off our family's money.
My husband, seemingly oblivious to how hurtful his father's remark is, chimed in.
Yeah, Sophie, it's a great opportunity for you to feel like a part of something exclusive and rich. You know, get a taste of the good life.
I tried to play along with their twisted version of reality, nodding shyly to signal that I accept what they tasked me with. Inside, I was heavily frustrated. It's crazy how wealth could cloud one's judgment. At that moment, I was losing hope of them ever seeing me as an equal member of the family.
Perfect. Try your best to relate with people like us, alright? Do your research.
As the days passed, I found myself sitting at my desk, staring at a blank document, having a hard time writing the speech as per Richard's request. Part of me wanted to rebel against his condescending attitude, but another part of me knew that this was an opportunity to show my talent and intelligence and perhaps win Richard's approval. With a deep breath, I began typing, letting my thoughts flow onto the screen. I tried my best to stay focused, ignoring the nagging feeling that I was being used as a pawn in Richard's game of power and superiority. Despite my reservations about the task, I still crafted each sentence with precision. As I delved deeper into the writing process, I found myself writing words that I fantasized about hearing from Richard's mouth, something heartfelt and kind, something that we would never say on his own because of his huge ego. I also allowed myself to add a touch of authenticity to the speech. I couldn't resist slipping in a few personal anecdotes and heartfelt words, hoping that they would resonate with the audience. It felt like it was my chance to positively influence the attitude of these powerful, wealthy people that could literally alter the course of people's lives in a snap. As the days went by, the speech took shape, and I finally felt satisfied with the final draft. It was eloquent, well-structured, and carried a touch of sincerity. When the day of the conference arrived, I handed over the speech to Richard, who glanced at it briefly before tucking it into his briefcase without a word of appreciation. It's times like this that it's getting difficult to remind yourself that your value was not dependent on anyone's recognition. As the hours ticked by, I realized that I hadn't received an invitation to attend. I didn't even know where and when it was because they were so private about it. I think they were scared I would crash the event if I knew the details. Well, their precautions just inconvenienced me when I wrote his speech, by the way. I was saddened for not being invited, not only because I wouldn't get to hear him read out loud the speech I wrote, but because I turned down another event my father invited me to for this. When I asked Richard about it, he just dismissed my concerns.
Oh, sweetie, this event is for building connections and networking with important people. You would be out of place there. Standing out too much, don't you think? Besides, nobody would want to talk to someone unimportant anyway. Time is money, and these people can't waste a breath on people like you.
His words cut deep, and I could feel my confidence waning. I told Caleb about this.
My father's only looking out for you. I mean, let's be realistic, Sophie. You don't speak as eloquently as those people, and you wouldn't understand half of their vocabulary or the business jargon they would be using. And what would you even wear? You don't even know the proper etiquette in behaving in those types of events. Do you know how to hold a wine glass properly? We don't have enough time to get you to look as pretty as those high society ladies.
Tears welled up in my eyes. I couldn't believe that the man I was going to marry, the man who was supposed to love and support me, could be so dismissive and demeaning. But amidst the hurt, I remembered my father's words.
A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor.
So I wiped away my tears, my chin held high, and decided to find my own way to spend the day. I longed for the comforting presence of my father, so I called him and poured my heart out, telling him everything that had happened. Hey, Dad, Richard and Caleb made me feel so small, like I don't belong in their world. They didn't even invite me to Richard's conference, and they said I wouldn't fit in with all those important people.
Oh, sweetheart. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, but remember that a smooth sea.
I know. I just can't believe there are people that cruel. Dad, you have your own event happening today, right? I know that I turned down the invitation initially, but do you think I could still attend? I have nothing to do today.
Of course, honey. A seat is always reserved for you in every event.
As I made my way to my father's event, I went to the bathroom first. Unbeknownst to me, Richard had the encounter of a lifetime. He had met my father, his idol, the man he had looked up to and revered for years. Richard, ever the dramatist, even jokingly got down on his knees as he spoke to my father, playfully emphasizing his admiration.
I remember you, my idol. Remember me? You saved my life back in the early days when I was just a struggling entrepreneur with a small company. You believed in me when no one else did, and you gave me the crucial investment that allowed my business to grow. Oh yeah, look at you now. You seem to have done quite well for yourself. Such a wonderful event of yours. So grateful to have been invited. Well, you know me, always supporting initiatives that encourage entrepreneurships and innovation. Can't wait to hear your speech later.
As I returned to the main hall, I saw Richard talking with such admiration and gratitude to my father. I couldn't believe my eyes. Part of me wanted to confront Richard right then and there, laugh at his face for the irony of the situation. But I knew that my father's event was not the place for such a confrontation, so I kept silent about it. It was so nerve-wracking. I tried my best to compose myself as my father noticed my trembling hands and asked if something was wrong. I'm fine, Dad. Just, a bit nervous, that's all. But my nerves only intensified as Richard took the stage to deliver his speech. I can't even remember what I wrote in there. I couldn't bear to look at him, fearing that our eyes would meet and I would break down in front of everyone. I watched from the audience as he spoke confidently about his company and its achievements, and then it happened.
And if we feel like giving up, always remember, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor.
Hearing Richard say it without any heartfelt sentiment felt like a mockery of the love my father had always shown me. I regret allowing him to speak those words that held so much meaning to me. I should have known that he would never truly understand the depth of those words or the emotions behind them. My whole body was trembling, and I could feel my father's concerned gaze on me. I think he recognized the phrase. He also connected the dots with everything I shared with him so far, and like the brilliant man he is, he just knew.
Is he?
I could only manage to nod, unable to find my voice. My father gently put his arm around me, pulling me close for comfort. Richard took the opportunity to give a shout out to his family, including his son Caleb.
And of course, my dear son Caleb, who has been by my side, supporting me all these years. I have to say, I had high hopes he would end up with someone more suitable for his status.
He expected laughter, but he was met with nothing, as the awkward silence hung in the air after Richard's inappropriate comment. My father took a deep breath and stepped up to the stage, all eyes turned to him, and I could feel the tension in the room.
Thank you all for being here today. I must say, I was moved by Richard's speech, particularly when he mentioned the phrase, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. You see, that phrase holds a special meaning to me and my daughter. It's a motto we live by. It's almost like she wrote the speech, didn't she?
He looked directly at Richard's eyes, who is now seated. He's a bit confused and shy by his bummer of an ending.
But I was taken aback by your comments about your son's partner. I know my daughter, Sophie, who's sitting right there. I can assure you she's a remarkable woman in her own right. She doesn't make wealth her personality, so it's no surprise that people try to belittle her. Sophie's not defined by your narrow view of success. People deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. I thought I made it clear as my mission for this event. So, as a man who believes in standing up for what he believes in, I've made my decision. I will be withdrawing all my investments from Richard's company. I cannot, in good conscience, invest in something that is rooted in such hurtful sentiments. I believe in supporting businesses with empathy, and I refuse to be associated with anything else. They are also banned from this event and any further events that I will be holding. Security, please escort them to the exit.
With those powerful words, my father stepped away from the podium, leaving behind a stunned audience and a humbled Richard. He lost not only his idol and his most important investor, but also the respect of many in the industry. The room buzzed with whispers and discussions of what had just occurred. The word spread quickly through the business community, and other investors took notice of my father's stand. One by one, investors began to question their association with Richard's company. The once promising investments turned into withdrawals. With every investor that pulled out, Richard's company lost valuable resources and financial banking. Richard's negative reputation made it challenging to attract fresh capitals or partnership. They were facing financial ruin until they went totally bankrupt. Looks like Richard and Caleb have been hit by the waves of their own karma, while my father and I are still sailing smoothly, forever the skilled sailors of our own principal journey.